Depression was going on through then, and many people did anything they could to keep their families alive, and this was one of them. And then the high school was a small high school. There were 52 members of my graduating class, and that was in 1957. Things have changed a lot. The church was all Latin. You could go and put your head down and the priest would mumble Latin and it wouldn't bother you too much. You didn't even know what he was saying, but neither did the priest, because I was an altar boy, and the altar boys didn't either, but it was nice and sounded a little mysterious. But I went to school, and every single day you had a class in religion. That's for 8 years of grade school and 4 years of high school. And every hour you said a prayer. And some of the times you prayed just to survive, because some of those people who were dressed up like penguins weren't very nice, and they would hit pretty hard. But you had the religion class, and, who was, Jesus Christ was the word you said. You bowed your heads. And then, you discussed that you learned a lot. And then I learned probably too much, I guess, because I did suggest when I was a senior in high school that Jesus Christ was a marvelous person, a historical person, but one thing he was never was a Christian. He was a Jew. He was born a Jew, and he died a Jew. And the nuns suggested that I was a heretic and I was a rotten person. And I said, well, on the top of the cross, it's this INRI, which indicates that here's Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. It was put there by the Romans. But Jesus never claimed to be a Christian. He lived with his mother and his family, and he sort of pulled a disappearing act from the time he was about 12 until the time he was about 33. Let's not get into that now, but who knows?
What happened if you were a left-handed person?
Well, if you were a left-handed person, it's obvious, as everybody knows, that that is the sign of the devil. And I had a sister who is still left-handed, but not the fault of the nuns, who gave every effort in the world to try. When I mentioned that Jesus wasn't a Jew, was a Jew and not a Christian, and certainly not a Catholic, they told me I couldn't come to school for a week. I was being suspended because of my attitude. Well, my father didn't agree with the nuns, and he said I had a feeling that Jesus was a Jew too. So I was allowed back into school after my father threatened to contact the bishop. But
what did he do? Did he come to the school?
He went to the school, and he had gone to the same school. He graduated 20 years before I did. And they told me in certain ways I was just like my father, who was opinionated. So I probably learned at that time the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree anid
I think that's what's happening here.
It's redundant all over again.
Did Catholic schools threaten the kids?
Well, if you threaten, there's no action. Now, I do have physical scars outside my body from being hit by a crucifix that the nuns carried on them, and I do. It's up here. And also, anybody who's listened to George Carlin knows there are internal scars that anybody who went to Catholic school carries with them forever. It's not and it's a mark of, it's like you're a martyr. You went to Catholic school, I have the scars to prove it.
Yeah, the rosary bead.
Well, they had a big crucifix on it, and they would sort of wick it like this. And corporal punishment, it might have been sergeant punishment by that time, but they pretty much wielded a mean, stick, and it was administered somewhat freely. And I found out early on, you don't go home and say, "Mummy, the nun hit me," or pull my shirt, and whatever. Because if a holy woman did that to you, according to your mother, then you must have been really bad and deserved it. Whereas today, you just pick up the phone and call the family lawyer. The priest, I used to feel bad for them, and sometimes not. If you take this regimen that they had, every priest had to say Mass every day, and you could not have anything to eat or drink before you said Mass. But saying the Mass, part of it, you had to drink like 12 ounces of 20 proof wine, fortified wine. Why do you think many of these priests, and that's the first thing they had in their gullet in the morning, became alcoholics? I don't know. It could be the fact that the first thing into you is 20 ounces or a good amount of highly fortified wine in the morning. And that made them maybe a little romantic, too, towards boys, girls, whatever. And it only didn't happen in the United States. It was sort of a worldwide phenomenon.
International. It wasn't a yeah.
Well, I mean, it happened in Ireland, and it happened in, it's coming out that it happened in Italy, and it happened in South America. So that, it's not the Catholics' fault, it's the wine's fault. That's what I'm going to go
Why did Jesus turn water into wine? Why didn't he turn water into whiskey?
He wasn't Irish, he was Jewish. But that's probably if he was Irish, it would have been, the water of life, as the Irish and the Scotch have called it, and the like. But he turned it into wine. And I think it was Mogan David he turned it into. It could have been.
That's not very good.
It was kosher.
All right, cheers. This won't be in film, but we'll just put this on there anyway.